One thing that's very different on the Mediterranean or European MSC cruises in comparison to, I'm assuming, the American-based MSC cruises is no tap water in the main dining room. If you want water, you're gonna be buying a bottle. I just returned from a mini cruise on the MSC Poesia. Today I'm gonna give you a quick rundown of some of the highlights and tell you about something that I was kind of surprised to find completely missing.
Just like the wind, just let it pass through.
I'm Morgan from the very unofficial travel guides. I've been making travel videos now for over 15 years of popular and not so popular tourist destinations to give you a very honest, unofficial look at what it's like to be there. My 2 books of travel stories are available on Amazon now, and actually in October I broke a personal record. So thanks everybody for that. If you have read the books, please go to Amazon and leave a review. That's another thing that you can do that really helps. Alright, it seems kind of weird to me that just last week in Sofa Time, I told you about the cruise and now it's already over. Because of some changes in my professional life, I had just this period of time to find something to do, and I talked more about that in last week's Sofa Time. And the something I found to do was this mini cruise on the Poesia from Hamburg up and around down to Rotterdam. In the travel vlog I posted this week, you can see the whole first day of getting from here to the ship, how smoothly that went. It's so nice to cruise from your hometown. I'm so jealous of anybody out there who lives close to a cruise port, especially one like here where you could just take public transportation to get there and have no worries. If you live within 1 hour to a cruise port, please let me know what port it is. Maybe I'll start looking at houses. Because I only had a day and a half on ship, I really focused a lot on getting video content, making a lot of recordings so I could show you around and help you get a feel for the ship if maybe you are planning to cruise on her in the upcoming Alaska season. So the Poesia, or the Poesia as I was also calling it, is going to be getting a little bit of an upgrade. It is one of a few MSC ships that does not have the yacht club. That's going to be added. There's going to be some changes in the restaurants, and then it is moving across to the other side of the globe for the Alaska season next year. I think this is an interesting decision because the ship has no indoor pool area. Now I know it's not always cold in Alaska, but I think the amount of warm weather days where you can really appreciate the very vast outdoor pool area on the Poesia, I don't think that's really fitting for the Alaska season, but I don't know. I have yet to cruise to Alaska. It's on the list, but I would just assume that ships that have some kind of indoor pool and recreation area are a little bit better suited for Alaska. I was surprisingly upgraded from an indoor cabin to an obstructed ocean view, and this view was definitely obstructed. I could just see like a little sliver of sky, and mostly what I saw was lifeboat. And like I said, the travel vlog I posted just a couple days ago goes into great detail about the things that happened on the first day, but one of the big highlights for me was definitely sailing out of Hamburg and sailing out of the Hafen City terminal. There are 3 cruise terminals now in Hamburg. 2 of them are on like the city side. That's Hafen City and Altona. And the one that's most popular is over on the other side of the river in an industrial area where you have to take some kind of transportation to get into the city. I think that's really unfortunate. Hamburg is such a great walkable city, and especially if you're docked at Hafen City, you can just get right off the ship, walk through the shopping mall, and you're in already an interesting area to walk around. I prefer those kind of cruise ports than ports like Chivy-Chewbacca, where you're far, far away from the city that you actually want to be visiting. But just look at these shots I took while we were cruising out. I love my city. It's so beautiful. Although, on that night, there was a huge windstorm. We also had problems with flash flooding, and while we were sailing up the river out to the sea, that part was fine. I fell asleep early and then I woke up later
because the ship was rockin' and rollin'.
I didn't manage to sleep a lot that night. I've had times where the movement of the ship honestly felt scary. Like the way it was moving and the size of the movement had me feeling like weightless while I was trying to sleep. And y'all know I love roller coasters, but not for extended periods of time when I'm out in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. And this wasn't like this. This was a lot of like shimmying, you know? So I think that the way the wind and the waves were affecting the ship as they were just kind of smashing into the side of it. And I just kept getting like these vibrations to the side, you know? So it's like, imagine you're trying to sleep and somebody keeps like kicking your bed. Not cute. Would not recommend. The next day I spent basically all day filming a cabin tour, filming around the ship. Pretty sure I took a nap. Had breakfast in the buffet, had lunch in the buffet, went to dinner in the main dining room, and had a surprisingly good main dining room vegetarian meal compared to my other MSC experiences. You'll know if you've been around here for a while that my very first MSC cruise on the Magnifico was horrible. I thought I'm never cruising with this line again. And then I did a couple Mediterranean cruises, and including one in the yacht club, and I realized, okay, they're getting better, and for the price, it's really not that bad. You just can't compare it to many other cruise lines, and honestly, I think a lot of times that's a mistake. When you're cruising or when you're traveling, I think most people have a favorite or a highlight or something, and I don't know, it's just natural to always compare everything you do then to that. But a lot of times, that basically will just always lead to disappointment, you know? So I tried to look at this cruise as, okay, I paid 250 euros for this entire cruise. And for that price, and when you consider everything I'm getting, is this food really that bad? Yes, it's not as flashy, and it's not as, I would say, like, contemporary and creative as on Royal Caribbean or NCL or even Carnival, if you ask me. But especially my meal in the main dining room on the second night I thought was pretty good. Another thing that's improved a lot on MSC, but there's still a lot of room for improvement there, are the shows. I saw 2 shows from the Onboard ensemble, and one thing that you can basically be guaranteed of when you're cruising on one of these European MSC ships is that there's going to be really talented people wearing crazy costumes and perhaps telling a story that makes absolutely no sense. One of the shows was a disco show, and I mean, like I said in my vlog, I was around in the 70s and I don't remember people dressing like this. What are these costumes? How did this get approved? And it was on the second night, which was the final night of the cruise for me, that I realized that something was missing that I found surprising. And let me show you my onboard account, and maybe you'll figure it out too. You can see here on the first night in the La Fontaine restaurant, I have charges of $16.39. That's because I purchased 1 glass of wine and a bottle of water. One thing that's very different on the Mediterranean or European MSC cruises in comparison to, I'm assuming, the American-based MSC cruises is no tap water in the main dining room. If you want water, you're going to be buying a bottle. If you've cruised with MSC from the USA, can you please tell me if that's different? I'm assuming it is. I can't imagine that they would get away with a ship mostly full of Americans charging for water in the main dining room. But hey, maybe. There is a deduction for the MSC Foundation. That's €1 that night, and the only other charge that I have here is, after I paid, I think, like 12 euros for 1 small glass of wine in the main dining room, I just realized, okay, you know, I kind of want to have at least another glass of wine before I go to bed, and tomorrow night, I like to have a glass of wine with dinner, and then maybe another one before I go to bed. I'm just gonna buy a bottle of wine. So I bought a bottle of wine in the wine bar with the automatic gratuity. It came to almost 40 euros. By the way, this is how they opened it, and I found this really surprising. And actually, this is a no-go if you ask me. If you have a wine bar on board that focuses on people tasting and enjoying different bottles of wine, some of them at a very high price, then your staff needs to know how to open a bottle of wine. Come on. I mean, it's not like I'm going to complain about it or give it back or something, but this is not how you open a bottle of wine. Would this bother you? Would you say something about it? But that is my entire onboard account statement. What's missing? Have you figured it out? Yeah. No automatic daily gratuities added to my bill. And when I looked at the bill on the final night, which is something I always recommend you do as well. If there is something wrong, you want to give yourself some time to get it worked out and not on the final morning of the cruise. But so I looked at it on the final night and I just figured, okay, well then they're probably going to be added tomorrow morning, but nope. No automatic daily gratuities on European-based cruises from MSC. This is a very pleasant surprise, and I think it's something that's pretty rare in the cruising world nowadays. And now I have another question for people who have cruised with MSC from the USA. Is it different? Do they add gratuities when they cruise from the USA? This is something where I'm pretty much assuming they do. If you're completely new to cruising, these daily gratuities are basically like a resort fee that you have when you go to stay in a hotel in Miami or Las Vegas. So the price that you see on the website isn't the actual price for the hotel room. You're going to be paying more automatically once you get there. And almost all major cruise lines in this category do this. In fact, I can only think of one that I've cruised with that doesn't do it, and that's Virgin Voyages. Virgin Voyages does a lot of things different on their cruises, and this is something that I really appreciate, is just knowing, all right, the price of the cruise on the website, that is actually the price of the cruise. You can see on my previous most recent cruise on the Star of the Seas from Royal Caribbean, the newest, biggest cruise ship in the world, there was an additional fee of $18.50 added to my bill for every night on the cruise. Technically, you can get this removed if you want to. I have done that in the past. Nowadays, I just kind of leave it. I think we're going to be finding out more and more, especially through people who do sort of investigative YouTube videos, that this money isn't necessarily all going to the crew on board the ship. I'm interested to see how far people can figure this out and find it out. So on Royal Caribbean, even if I hadn't purchased anything else on board, I still would have been charged $74 more at the end of the cruise. And on MSC, I only would have been charged this €1 for the MSC Foundation. And that's something that I really appreciated about this mini cruise. I have to tell you something else that happened that has never happened to me in all my years of traveling around the world, and especially around Europe. But let me just remind you to please check to make sure you're still subscribed and give this video a thumbs up before I continue. Please think about leaving a review for Getting Stitches or Places Please if you've read the books. On the final day, the cruise ended in Rotterdam, and I wanted to spend a night in Amsterdam before coming back home here to Hamburg. And getting from Rotterdam to Amsterdam on the train is theoretically really easy. I now have a really popular video on my channel showing how to get from Chivy Chest X-Ray into Rome, and my video showing how to get from the Piraeus Athens port into the city and to the airport is also becoming pretty popular. I really like making those kind of videos where I can sort of be me and joke around, but also like actually legitimately help people. And I wanted to make one of those videos about how to get from the cruise port to the main station in Rotterdam and then from Rotterdam to Amsterdam. Well, it was all going well until the power went out. I've done so much train traveling across Europe. I know that sometimes trains have to stop because there's a problem with the signal or a problem in the station ahead, and there are delays. Sometimes you miss your transfer. Sometimes your train is canceled and you have to wait and take the next train an hour later. I've experienced so many of these things, but never a complete power outage. So our train was stuck on the tracks in between two cities, and they literally had to bring like an extra train on the track next to us. It was like tendering. We had to jump out the side of the train into the other train. Of course, jumping is dramatic. There's a bridge. They put it there. But you know what I mean. Then that train took us to a whole different city that we weren't even supposed to stop at. And from there, then I got into the train that took me to Amsterdam. So kind of screwed up that video, didn't it? I still have to post it somehow. And I think the important parts of the video are still all there. But yeah, I've never had an evacuation out of a train like that before. That will also be coming in that video, so make sure you stay tuned and check back soon. And by Next week's Sunday Sofa Time, I will already have had my first day in Stuttgart at my new job. So hopefully I will be able to get a Sofa Time online next week, and maybe I'll give you a little bit of behind the scenes there from that and how that's going. And until then, let me say thank you for spending this part of your Sunday, or whatever day it is you choose to watch this with me. I'm Morgan from the Very Unofficial Travel Guides. See you soon.